So I've been playing with this Discovery ED-PRS GEN2, the 5 to 25 by 56, first focal plane, 34 millimeter tube, 56 millimeter objective, and I got it out again. And I got to tell you, it's really kind of surprising me just how good this optic seems to be. So I wanted to give you guys kind of an overview of the zero stop. I've had a couple people ask me about the zero stop and how it works. So I'm going to kind of show you here. I'm going to pull this screw, and turret just lifts off. So you have this shelf, okay? And when you first get this shelf is slid up. Focus. It's slid up a little ways so that the turret will both go clockwise and counterclockwise. So you can adjust up or down. And all you got to do is when you get your zero set, you get your rifle zeroed, you're going to loosen these set screws. There's a few of them. And then you'll see on here, maybe if I turn it this way. See how that's got kind of a raised portion in the scope body? You basically just lock that shelf, the notch in that shelf, this tab, against the raised portion in the scope body. This is very similar to an Athlon zero stop if you've ever messed with one of those. And it seems to work very well. Let me get my zero here again. Get this pushed on. And I come off a click here. Hold on. But when you adjust, it's a very hard stop. I mean, it's great. And if you want to, we'll make it to where you can go like a half a mil past. All you got to do is leave that hard stop just a little ways off of that notch. So it's pretty easy to set. All in all, for a $350 package, it's honestly blowing me away. So if you guys are on the fence on this, I don't know what else to tell you. It's tracking. I haven't done an actual tracking test. I'm waiting for my scope rail to come in for my rig that I built so that I can actually do tracking tests from the bench. But I can tell you it follows my data perfectly out to 1,000 yards. I ran out to 1,000 yards with it, and it was very it was impressive, guys. My data tracked. We had quite a bit of wind today doing it, but yeah, I'm thinking about ordering another one, to be completely honest with you, because this would be great on like a rimfire trainer. If you wanted to put something like that on there, especially if you went with like a 50 MOA base, you've got so much travel in this optic in the vertical that it would work very well on a rimfire situation. So I think I'm actually going to mount this on the 300 blackout. Guys, I'm rebuilding my 300 blackout right now so that I can do the 1,000-yard challenge with it. And I think I'm going to throw this on there for that challenge. So. But there you go. If you guys are interested in this, there's a link in my bio that will take you right to the Amazon link. And then if you use my code, it's Justin525 with a capital J, that will knock 10% off of the optic. So I will put all that stuff in the description in this video. And like I said, the link is in my link tree in my bio to get to the Amazon link to purchase this optic. If you guys have any questions about this, let me know, and I'll do my best to make a video on it and answer it for you. Thanks. Alright guys, so you wanted an optics test. Now I'm going to show you the setup I'm using. I got this Arca Picatinny rail from Leo Photo, which is actually kind of handy. I can actually make my rifle scope a spotting scope, which is handier than shit. But I'm using an old phone scoped adapter. And I have to actually cover this lens or you get a bunch of glare in the phone. But I wanted to show the setup I'm using so you guys understand. I'm going to be looking at a cell phone tower there. It's about 200 yards away. Now, I do want to caveat this by saying I'm looking at my phone and looking through the optic, and it is not as clean of a picture through the phone. We're going through some mirrors. I'm having a hard time getting it focused so that you can see the edge-to-edge clarity, but it's going to give you a decent representation of, you know, distortion, chromatic aberration, that kind of stuff. It's not perfect. It's still better to the naked eye. This is very hard to do with recording equipment, so just keep that in perspective when you're viewing this. So here we go. Here's the view through the scope. All right, guys, so here is through the phone scope, and I need to say right off of the bat, this picture is horrible when it comes to the representation of what I'm seeing through the glass. So I'm borderline hesitant to even post this, but I feel like in the name of transparency, I should at least show you guys through the glass on this thing. I can look through the actual phone scope mechanism and get a considerably clearer picture than what this camera is showing. I have none of this weird distortion around the outside edge when I'm looking through it. And with the phone scope adapter off, it's even more clear. So I'm looking through really shitty glass on this phone scope portion, you know, the mechanism that I'm actually recording through. But this at least will give you an idea of the reticle and that kind of stuff. I'm going to zoom way out here. So this is a radio tower, like I said, 200 yards away. And I'm just blown away by when that distortion comes in. I'm not seeing it, and I can't get it to go away on this camera. PhoneScope has an app where I can adjust the focus, but all that you're seeing creep in there, I'm not seeing that through the glass itself. So I'm going to show you here the lighted reticle too. So right now the lighted reticle is on the highest power, and just to prove that it's on, we're going to close the lens cap. There's a lighted reticle. That's that glow that I was telling you guys about, which seems to go away if you dial the magnification down to about 15 power. But it's not daylight bright. If that's a deal breaker for you, that might be something you need to worry about, but I don't run my glass like an EOTech. If it's this bright outside, I don't need the illuminated reticle anyway. So here I'm going to turn that off. But yeah, like I said, I'm borderline hesitant to even post this because I don't want people thinking that this is the representation of the glass. These, just so you understand here, on 15 power right here, I can actually see the Phillips head of those screws when looking through the actual optic itself. So take it for what it's worth, guys. You wanted to see through the glass. This is the best I can do right now until I figure out a better way to get a better, clearer picture. But there you go. So again, guys, the only other thing I'm noticing, and I didn't notice it near as much with with it mounted to a rifle, the eye box is a little touchy at 25 power. It's a little harder to get perfectly centered behind the, you know, the whole ocular lens to get everything right where it needs to be. When I had it on a rifle, I didn't seem to have any problems with that. But now that I'm standing free behind the rifle or behind the optic, just trying to get my head in the right place, it is a little touchy. I'm finding if I turn it down to about 20 power, it stabilizes pretty well. So there you go, guys. There's about the best I can do right now with the equipment that I've got. I do have targets coming to do a tracking test, and the Picatinny rail is in for the rig, so I will get that mounted. And as soon as the targets get here, I will get 100 yards stepped off and try to get you a decent tracking test figured out. I am not a surveyor, so the 100 yards is going to be as close as I can get it. So there might be a little bit of discrepancy in the tracking, but you'll get the idea. So the scope tracking targets are in. I ordered 4 of these. They are a long-range 100-yard load development and scope tracking test by box2benchprecision.com. They're kind of a heavier material. They're not a real flimsy paper. Almost feels like a vinyl almost. And there's some really neat things you can do here. So on the load development side, I mean, obviously you can put all your data. And then on the load development, it gives you, so like say you're doing a 3-shot group of 10 thousandths off the lands, 40, 80, and 120. Up here you could probably put whatever. So if you want to do 20 and 30 here, you could, and then your final, what you decide to do. And then powder also, so you can do, you know, 2/10 grain increments, half a grain increments, whatever, and do 3-shot groups at that and enter your velocities and everything. Allows you to put a lot of your information for location and atmospherics. And then it has a scope tracking feature. So you start here, you zero here, and then you dial up. This will give you 1.5 mils, 2 mils, 3 mils. I think this is 4.5, 6, and 7.5. And then if I'm understanding it correctly, it tells you 1.5 mils left and right. So kind of just a neat deal. I'm curious, I'm gonna have to kind of look and see. I'm wondering if this is 1 mil off the line. I'll have to look at the instructions. The instructions to it are right there. But yeah, this is what we'll be using to do our tracking tests. It's about the only one I could find that was in mils. Everybody makes them in MOA, but there's very few of them in mils. So there you go, guys. We'll get a target board set up at 100 yards, try to get as close as we can, and then we'll try to start doing some tracking tests. Now, I'm honestly not planning on shooting this to do the tracking test. I'm just going to dial the optic and see how close it comes to being close to these points. And then I'll probably do one where we shoot just to kind of show the target off. I've got some 156 grain burgers that I want to load for my 6.5 PRC, and I got some 243 stuff to start loading. I've never loaded for the 243, so I'm going to start loading for that. So maybe when I start doing those, we'll really utilize one of these and go through the whole process. So, but there you go. All right, guys, there's the rig. We have the Discovery Optics 5-25 ED-PRS on the rig and set up. And then I have my target. I'll show you through the rangefinder, as close to 100 yards as I can get. And just so you know, I'm pretty impressed with the tracking on this. I have ran it out to 1,000 yards on a couple different rifles, including the RUM 300 Ultra Mag. And you'll see here, with my limited ability to be very accurate at putting the target exactly 100 yards, and my rickety table, it does pretty damn good, guys. So here's the results. Let me know what you guys think. The link for this is in the link tree in my bio if you're interested in purchasing this. And if you use the code Justin525, you'll get 10% off. This is a $350 optic, guys, and I'm having a real hard time finding anything wrong with it. If I had one complaint, the eye box is pretty tight at 25 power. But that's about all I got. All right, guys, I've got this as accurate as I can get it. I have a target at what is as close to 100 yards as I can get it. I have my bench leveled. I'm on a pretty flimsy table here, so it's kind of shaky. And this is the best picture I can get out of this damn phone scope. But right now I'm on the mill line. And every other hash mark here should correspond with the orange target at the bottom being 7.5 mils. Okay, so let's dial at 7.5 mils. I'm gonna try not to move shit too much here, guys. I'm sorry, it's really shaky. So let's go 7.5. That's pretty damn close. Also, it tracks pretty vertically. You can see I don't have my crosshairs perfectly level. I did have them level, and then I moved shit. The target at the end, I did make sure it was, you know, I used a level to make sure it was trued up. So that down there is straight, but my crosshairs aren't exactly straight. Let's go back to 0 here. See how it's traveling along that pretty straight line though. So that top one should, yeah, and I bumped it. So it tracks pretty good, guys. I'm sitting on a fish cleaning table right now that is flimsy as shit. So they're 7.5 mils up, which is perfect on that dot. That's exactly 5.5 mils, which there's 2 mils between those two targets. That's pretty close to the mil mark on there. That's exactly 3 mils. Oh, sorry, right there's 3 mils, so it's a little off. But like I said, if I'm not exactly 100 yards, guys, this will never track right. So let's go back to 7.5. Oh, too far. There's 7.5. And I don't even know if I should mess with the windage because I'm so far off. Yeah, that's pretty close. So that's 1.5 that way. Back to 0. And then 1.5 this way, which we're going to be a little off because I was a little off to the left side anyway. So from what I could tell by these targets, guys, it's tracking pretty good. Like I said, there's exactly 5.5. It dials up perfect to that dot. That's exactly 3. So we're close still, right? That's 1.5. Probably a 1/10 off. There's 0. So there's a tracking test, guys, on the Discovery. I will try to get a little better stable platform to do this on because this was an absolute pain in the ass to set up. But you guys can't complain about that on a $350 scope. And I have shot this on some big rifles now. I've put quite a few rounds. I've dialed the hell out of these turrets. And I am thoroughly impressed with that.